Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the Small Business Support Group, episode 74. It is Friday, the 26th of June. Nearly at the end of June now, aren't we? Good grief. It's speeding along. So, who do we have in the house today? Obviously, we have Maz. She's back after a day break. Aye, that's right. Grant's in the studio. We should just call it the studio now, mate. Is that it?
Yeah, let's call it the studio.
Oh, you got no sound. You've got that's it. It's better. Call it the studio.
No, I can hear Grant.
Can you hear me?
Grant's in the Birmingham studio. Yeah, I can hear him now. Yeah, I can hear it now. And Andy is in his office with the door open behind you. The door's open behind you, Andy. Morning.
What's behind me?
The door's open behind you.
Behind you.
Anybody? That's it. There you go. Beautiful. Just makes it look weird. So it's Friday. We may have another guest coming on. We're not sure yet. We'll see what happens there. Maz, what are you talking about today?
So I'm going to talk about remote working today.
Remote working.
By the way, hang on. I've done the watch party. Can you guys see it?
Is that the thing every day? That's just. I think 74 episodes. I think you've done that. 62 of them. Let's have a look. Yes, you are. Your watch party is live. I can see it. Thank you very much. Okay, Maz, we'll let you go, and then I think we'll all have a chip in with regarding remote working. I think. So go over to Maz.
So, and good afternoon to everybody. It is Friday. We've made it. I am going to just talk about remote working today. It was an article that I was reading yesterday, actually. So, indefinite or even permanent, these are words companies are using about their employees working from home. It's 3 months into a huge, unplanned social experiment that suddenly transported the white-collar workplace from cubicles and office to kitchens and spare bedrooms. And many employees the past few months have given those of us lucky enough to work from home during the pandemic the time to reflect on what we like and dislike about our current way of working. I mean, for me personally, I'm enjoying time with the kids. I'm not missing the commute. And I'm loving the opportunity to virtually connect with so many more clients and colleagues than I ever possibly could have done in person. That said, I do believe in balance and know the eventual return to office life will be actually welcomed by many people. Physical offices present so many benefits from a culture, collaboration, and creativity prospect, which I think will be even more valued in the future because of this experience. There's also inherent human need for in-person interaction, which is so important for relationship building trust, and also mental health. I mean, it's been fascinating to see how COVID-19 is changing people's work preferences. Interestingly, as I said earlier, that I was reading an article yesterday, there was a survey on LinkedIn, and it showed that searches for remote working have actually increased by 60% globally since March. I mean, in the UK, views of remote jobs are 40% higher, and applications for these roles have increased by 189%. Job postings on LinkedIn for remote work are also higher by an increase of 277% since March, as employers have had to adapt business operations, as we all know, due to the global pandemic. I mean, the top most applied for remote jobs currently in the UK, and I've made a note of this because I'm not going to remember it, was head of marketing, data analyst, national account manager, customer support representative, chief technology office, administrative assistant, and freelance graphic designer, data entry specialist, freelance writer, and online specialist. I mean, the research conducted by LinkedIn, which surveyed 2,000 UK adults who had been working from home since lockdown, found that over 54% would like their employer to give them the opportunity to work from home more regularly in the future. I mean, while there are clearly challenges associated with working from home, a quarter have felt pressured to respond more quickly to emails. And on average, respondents are clocking up an extra 28 hours of monthly overtime since the lockdown. There are also real benefits to having a more flexible approach to working. I mean, nearly a quarter of the respondents said they had more time for exercise. I mean, to put a percentage on it, 17% felt they were eating more healthily, and 44% said working from home have made them feel more connected to their family. I mean, it's evident that people want more flexibility when it comes to work. They want to be able to decide for themselves when to work from the office and when to work from home, depending on their work and life commitments. I mean, for those that can do it, it's actually likely that remote working will increasingly become the norm as COVID-19 proves to companies that actually their employees can still be productive regardless of where they work. And I'd like to think that I'm certain that we will see more businesses follow suit. Companies that offer greater flexibility will actually benefit from improved employee engagement and loyalty. Also, they'll have access to a much broader and more diverse talent pool as they become unconstrained by location, which is good for people and business. I know it's something that Grant has said that he would like to do. And he's looking to expand his employees and maybe even globally. So it'd be interesting to know what your thoughts are, Andy, Grant, and Matt. So on that note, over to you, young lads. Matt, you're on mute. You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
All the time. Sorry. Yeah, well, remote working is obviously it's a hot topic for the past 3 months, and it's something that I've always done. So from anywhere I've been, so I'm all for it. I think it's great. Grant, you've obviously moved about a bit. You're in the office or you're at home at the moment. So obviously with technology, and we had this discussion right at the start of this the lockdown, that technology did let a lot of people down. But how have you felt with it?
Yeah, so I've still got the office. Obviously, I'm in it now, but my team won't be using it every day. So so I'm having to think creatively about how we use the space because I'm in a lease. But that aside, the office space really is redundant. I've found that as a team, we've worked better together during lockdown. Communication has improved because you have to use the technology more. And it's weird, isn't it? If I've got somebody sitting, I mean, normally there'd be 6 people, sometimes 7 people around me in the office, and the communication has been better using screen share because we force ourselves to actually communicate than when you sat opposite somebody who's got the head down or on the phone all the time. And so it's weird, isn't it, the way that it's forced us to actually be better communicators. Interestingly, at the beginning of this year, I'm looking at my whiteboard, which is right in front of me here, which has got all the targets and goals for January that we put in place. And remote working wasn't one of them. My viewpoint prior to this was that it's important that the team get together and on a regular basis. And although I've always had a remote working, so for example, Audrona, who works for me, she manages all of the workflow. She's always worked from home on a Friday, but she wanted to come into work during the week because she felt that having that commute and being in a place where she's focused on work was better. But since she's been forced into working from home in lockdown and she's been given all the sort of, the technology that she needs to perform, she now no longer wants to come into the office. And from a productivity point of view, as you've said, Maz, I definitely feel like, I suppose that there's a combination here. Necessity, our workload's gone up massively. I've had to recruit extra people, and I have recruited people internationally. We had a bit of an international team anyway, but not they were obviously working in the UK. But we've now got team members that are all over the world really, and it doesn't make a difference. It's more about recruiting on talent and recruiting on their fit within the team than necessarily where they're geographically based. One of my guys spends a lot of time over in the States. He's a UK citizen. He's UK based, but he works just as well remotely in America, arguably better when he's over there than when he's in the office. And so this whole, I believe that what's happened is we've effectively accelerated our migration to a more effective and efficient way of working because of the lockdown. So the adaptation of working from home and using technology to be more effective and efficient has been accelerated out of necessity. And I think it's about we've accelerated about 5 years in 3 months, because this is Definitely. The way that things were moving, maybe even 10 years, having been forced to do this. And I think what we've got to do is then we've got to make sure that we are communicating appropriately as human beings, getting the interaction that we need. I'm going to be insisting on once a month that the team get together for those that are in the UK. But it'd be more of a social thing than an actual work thing. It's going to be more of a, we're getting to know each other than an actual, for any work reason. It's more about team stuff.
No, that's, I think, I was just looking at an article as you were talking then. I wrote an article back in November the 12th, 2019, which was giving your team the tools to work from home. So I was sort of preempted the whole COVID thing. And you're right, the technology was moving on. And I think we have accelerated, as you say, Grant, we have accelerated the whole process of working from home and not having that place in the office to work from. And for the better, because hopefully everybody's internet, it gets better. Andy went out and bought a new computer, which, hallelujah, that was brilliant.
I mean, I might add, from my bounce back loan. So thank you, Her Majesty's government.
And that's what you should be using it for. So, and Andy, let's talk about you for a second, because obviously you now obviously don't work from an office. You work from home, and you go out and see clients. So how you've done that for a few years, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have got clients. I go to their offices and work from their offices.
Yeah.
At certain occasions, but just want to talk about one specific company. And what's interesting about COVID-19, some companies have suffered, other companies, it's helped them. They've actually done more. One of those business sectors is the dating business, which I'm involved in, as some of you may know. And that business has been all working remotely. And whilst there was a bit of a problem because we couldn't introduce people to meet, we introduced people to meet online, on videos. And FaceTime and whatever. So that actually helped. And it actually helped people because obviously that some of these people were in lockdown and were very lonely. That business has actually done better in the lockdown and the pandemic than prior. And we have found the staff have been far more productive working remotely than working in the office. Now we're going to have the test is going to come soon because next week the office is opening and there is going to be some limited staff in the office because remote working doesn't always work for everyone because all of us, I don't know if Maz has got one, but I've got a dedicated office. You have Matt, you have Grant at home, I think, as well. Have you got one, Maz?
Yes, I have. Yeah, well, my husband's using it at the moment upstairs.
Okay. So we've got a dedicated office. Now, some people haven't got that luxury, number one. Number two, they are trying to do it from, their kitchen table or their dining table or whatever it may be. And there's kids running around. I watched GMB the other day where one of the weather ladies was trying to do a broadcast from her house and a young daughter was in the background. So it became difficult. So there are all sorts of aspects to take into account. However, I have a fairly new client at the moment that deals in garden rooms and garden offices. And they have had an absolute boom in that sector for people needing an extra room for an office. So it's not bad. It's also accelerated the use of Teams on Microsoft, Zoom and other mediums. So it is working. The dating business I'm involved in, I don't take part every day, but they have a meeting every single day on Teams, which is very important for the company's staff and also for morale, because it does also, the negative side is people do miss the interaction with work colleagues in an office environment. So there is that as well. So maybe the answer to that is more breakout days, away days, or meetings externally where staff come together sort of once in a while at a meeting. I know that we used to do it anyway. We used to have an away day in the dating business at a hotel in a meeting room for a day, and sometimes a night. So that I think will accelerate, and meeting rooms will happen. So I think it's just a natural progression. I do fear for the office sector. People who've invested in offices and have got offices, that is a problem. So I just think it's good on the whole, but I think it suits more people, shall I say, more mature people than younger people. I still think it's important that the young people do go out to work and have that experience of work, from whatever that be, 18, 20 or whatever age it may be. I think that's, fortunately, they seem to be less affected by this virus under 30. So that helps as well. So it is something great. There's lots of people working from home, and it's now a norm. And with the cloud as well, we one of the other businesses I'm involved in is a franchise business. That business franchise works from home and a van, and it's always been based in the cloud. We have no offices for that apart from a virtual office. So it's got to be good from that perspective. I just think it's just that we need to find reason to utilise all this office space that may well end up being redundant, as Grant said.
Make it into apartments.
Andy, you kept that a secret. I didn't know that you worked for a dating site.
Well, Maz, my experience is wide and varied. In fact, it's so wide and varied, I wouldn't have time on a show as short as this to tell you all of it.
Well, we know your experience is wide and varied. We know that.
So I'm just going to jump in here because we've just got a little bit of breaking news coming in. Because if anybody banks with a fintech bank called Anna, I think they've gone. They've literally just crashed.
Oh my God!
Because they've sent an email. Now, I've got an account with them. Got no money in it, thank goodness. Because I don't really use it because the system's not great. But it's just we've just had an email that's come through, and it's saying about we urgently recommend you withdraw your money from Anna account. Well, it says before 12 p.m. today, so that's a bit late. This is due to an FCA planning requirements. Placing requirements on our UK payment provider. So if you've got an Anna Bank and you've got some money in there, you need to get it out. You can't get it out via the app because the app is now locked, but they're saying you can use your card today. So if you've got an Anna account, which I know a lot of entrepreneurs and self-employed use those fintech accounts, you need to get your money out fast.
How many bank accounts have you got?
And I was just going to say that.
Well, I've got. You see, I didn't. Okay. Well, I'll tell you why. I did an article. I did a blog last year about fintech banks, and that's when I opened up. I've got Starling, Tides, Anna. I've got Metal. There's one called Metal as well. And which is the other one? Another one just went bump as well. So I opened up about 8 accounts, but they're free to open. And if you don't use them, it's free. So I was just running a test and an article to see how quickly and easy it was to open up.
Matt, can I just say, and I know Andy's just touched on it. Thanks for bringing that to my attention about the pods in the garden.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're thinking of having one. You know what? I never thought about that. That's such a good idea. I know we've got an office upstairs, but just to be away from the house, the main house, away from the kids, and just
my neighbour is in the same situation you, Maz. They've got a dedicated office, but she was using it for her business, but he needs to use it. So she's now relegated to the kitchen table or whatever at the moment. I think they alternate it. So the problem is that, you need that space. So they are probably thinking about a garden room. I actually suggested, why don't you think about a garden room? Because that is another option. So you see, if there's 2 working people in the household, or even 3, like it may well be that your household has got children of working age, they may have to end up working from home. For instance, my brother, his son, he's working from home at the moment. So he needs a dedicated place.
Now, it's a good idea. I mean, in the lockdown, my husband's taken the office. I've taken one of the reception rooms downstairs corner. But
one of the reception rooms.
Yeah. So the problem is he's using bedroom, which isn't ideal if you're going on Zoom meetings or Teams meetings and so forth. So it's interesting. As you see, it's like what people put behind you on your screen. Like, for instance, I've rearranged my there. What you'll see there, and that on where my finger is pointing there, is the actual footprint of a soldier from D-Day. Right, just for out of interest, anybody ever noticed it? That is a footprint of unfortunately, he didn't survive D-Day. He died on the beaches, saving the free world, and that is a footprint of a soldier. So it's very, very interesting about that, and that brings us on to obviously where we are today. This is a war, but it's a different type of war. It's a biological war. Thankfully, so far, it wasn't unleashed by another enemy. It was something that.
Well, we don't know that.
We don't know that yet, as I said. So far, we don't know that. It's
don't get Andy started.
It's been created by nature or whatever. But it is nevertheless a war, and we've got a bigger war to fight now called an economic war, and that will be the issue. And that's why I was saying yesterday about jobs. It is so important to preserve as many jobs. People even in the past have been saying, "Oh, jobs lost." You can't keep losing jobs in an economy because jobs create taxes. Taxes fund society, and people don't understand this. If you don't have taxes, you will not have a society. End of story. The government cannot keep on pumping money in like it is. It is now surpassed all borrowings of history now so far. Although some good news, just so that you don't everybody think I'm being negative all the time, is in the financial crisis of 2008, the government did quantitative easing, pumped in billions to the economy, bailed out the banks, right? And to the tune of that was £1.1 trillion. Right. Now, the good news is all the data so far were not up to that figure yet for this one, but we have got a way to go yet. And the economic ramifications have not been felt completely yet, apart from the extra 600,000 jobs that have been added to the unemployment register so far.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting, but just on that particular point on business, I think I may have mentioned it yesterday, franchise inquiries are 68% up so far on last year in the UK. I am an agent for the government startup loan. Applications up there are now quadrupled. And where we used to get an approval within days, it's now gone into weeks. So what's happening? People are looking at their future. But guys, what is the UK being built on? Entrepreneurship. Grant invited me out for my first pint yesterday, and there we go. And we had a great occasion. It was only 2 pints, and luckily we cycled there and cycled back, so it also was our daily exercise. So there was some good in it. And we were talking about the economy generally, and the UK, the British Empire. I know there's a lot of criticism of the British Empire, but you've got to understand that this little tiny island that we live on, right, punched way above its weight and ended up controlling 2/3 of the world, right, as the British Empire. Not all good history, I know, but we can't change the history books. They are the history books, whether you like it or not. But what happened there was entrepreneurship helped create the British Empire by 2 companies, the East India Company in the east and the Hudson Bay Company in the west. And those had private militias and private armies that ended up becoming the British Army, right? So it was entrepreneurs in a way who created the British Empire. So we've got to be more entrepreneurship in terms of what the government's doing. I've just been reading, because I'm sad like that, Sajid Javid, the former Chancellor, has put a report out about what to do to save the economy. It doesn't go far enough. All he talks about is tax cuts. Well, tax cuts are no good if we're not paying tax, right? And that's the point. And we've got to think about that. Anyway,
no, don't worry. I was going to move on to just a different topic. Obviously, you two were out yesterday, but there were other people out yesterday on the beach at Bournemouth. That was a picture from yesterday at 3:30. That's Bournemouth Beach.
Terrible.
Absolutely insane. And I saw the news report where that picture was taken, and they were interviewing the people on the beach, and they were saying, well, they got one person on there, and he said, well, aren't you worried about getting too close to somebody else, COVID. He said, well, COVID hasn't affected me. I don't know anybody who's had it. And that was his statement. I don't know anybody who's had it, so I'm perfectly safe. So it's just insane.
Well, Grant and I bumped into one of my clients, an age-old friend who is a bit more senior in years than me. I'm 61, he's 69, 8 or 9. Anyway, he just believes it's flu.
Well, it is flu, really.
Well, but, it's a bit... A, it's more contagious than flu. B, it's a respiratory disease more than flu.
Yeah.
Right? But, it just goes so people have all these ideas. And it's quite interesting. And again, Grant was with me, witnessing me being ridiculed for wearing my mask. Yes, Grant, remember?
You didn't have it in that photo. Where's your mask in your straw?
Oh, no, I haven't got it there. I didn't have it there because we were socially distanced, you see.
Yeah, I could tell in the depth of field on the photograph there. I went out as well yesterday. I noticed that. It's nice, that was. I was out yesterday with the wife. We went to a little country retreat park thing, which we had a pie. So it was our first meal out for 3 months.
Fantastic.
It was really nice. There was only us two there. It was brilliant.
Pretty, Matt.
Sorry, say again.
I was actually thinking about going out with Marion this weekend if the weather's okay, because I wanted to go. I was watching a program about Hebden Bridge. It was actually my favourite program, Michael Portillo, on his railway journeys. And his
right, yes, I've seen that. Yeah, that's fair enough. It was
really.
I was literally only around the corner from you because I was just where was it? That was it was in Henley. No, it wasn't. Right. It was in Henley. It was in Henley, but it was down. You went through and he went back towards Lapworth. So we should have called in and said hello to you, but there we go.
Yes,
okay. So, Grant, have you got any news behind the news of anything today? Because it is a Friday. Have you got anything juicy?
And this ties into what you talked about people on the beach. Not socially distancing, seem to be a bit clueless. Andy and I had conversations with a couple of other people yesterday. Now that the lockdown is starting to ease, and we're starting to, that was probably the first time that I've had a proper sort of social interaction with somebody, albeit socially distanced, in probably 3 months, because when you're having a drink and you're talking to people that you don't know that well. You get to sort of talk about more, what's the word? General stuff. Interesting what Matt said. What Andy said is that the perception that I get from certainly the people that I interacted with yesterday, and this is over. In fact, I've got to say, whenever we've had people, a lot of people that we've had on here. When I've gone on to networking, there are a lot of people that are very dismissive of the actual disease itself. They're very sceptical of the, and I probably place myself in this to a certain extent myself as well. I know Maz is probably on a similar page, and a lot of people are also very they're questioning whether what we've been through is worth the economic cost. Now, isn't it interesting that if that tends to be, a good proportion of people that feel that way, and yet we have all towed the line. We have all, on the most part, stuck to our lockdown, stuck to our socially distanced activity on the whole. But then when we let the reins off, you get what is the real scenario, and that's what happened on the beach yesterday.
Yeah,
you get people that really don't care about it, and all they were doing was pretty much doing as they were told. Because, and the thing that reminds me of is, do you remember of a few probably a couple of months ago now, we had a discussion about the film. Was it called? Wasn't out? Was it Contagion or something like that?
Contagion. That's right. Yeah.
It's like basically a film that was made that is really similar to what's happened to us, with the exception that the virus was much more lethal. It was kind of like a 1 in 4 death rate, something like that, I think. as opposed to what is looking like a 1 in 100, or was it 0.9% is the last stat that I saw, that if everybody caught it, it would be a 0.9% death rate. And yet on that film, what they predicted was there were mass riots, loads of looting, all sorts of upheaval. Now we have had a bit of that, but it was nothing to do with the virus.
No.
It was nothing to do with, and isn't it interesting that my point being, bring it back round, is look at how compliant we've been in general.
Yeah.
Look at how how we are all, when you have a conversation with somebody like we had yesterday, a lot of people are going, did we really need to do this? Is it really that bad? I don't think it is. That's what lots of people are saying. And yet the whole world has towed the line. We've been compliant. We've stayed indoors. We've done what we were supposed to do, and we've not really questioned it, which I think if you'd have, if you were writing a sort of doomsday book 10 years ago, you would have anticipated a lot more people being a lot more questioning and a lot more and digging into the numbers a lot more. Because the truth is, we don't really know, do we? We don't really know whether it was a good idea to lock down. A lot of people will tell us that it is, but I haven't seen the facts that actually laid out clear as day for everybody to follow. Because if we had those facts laid out in front of us, you wouldn't have all those people on the beach. If it really was as bad and it was really clear to identify and to actually articulate, and that everybody knew, yes, it's really dangerous, you could die, all those people wouldn't have been on the beach because they would have been scared to death of doing it.
That's true.
And yet, we've all towed the line. We've all towed the line without the information that we would like.
But is that why we've sort of got through it? I know it's affected us still financially, but is that the reason why we've got through it, because we've towed the line? Andy, what do you think?
Well, the big test is this weekend.
Yeah.
All police leave has been cancelled in many force areas because they think that the police chiefs are not very happy with the decision to open on a Saturday, which is obviously traditionally one of the busiest days of the week anyway in the leisure industry. And I tend to think, looking at Bournemouth yesterday, what you've just shown, and the Liverpool game, I saw a bit of that on the news, I think everybody's going to go crazy. And the only thing that may stop that craziness is if the weather's not so good, which I don't think it's not forecast to be as good as tomorrow as yesterday and today.
Well, it's next week the pub's open. It's a week Saturday.
A week Saturday, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a week Saturday.
A week Saturday, not tomorrow, sorry. 4th of July. 4th of July.
That's correct. Yeah.
And that's what they're concerned about. If that weekend tends to be good weather, I think you're going to have a double whammy. And what you've got is obviously the rioting that Grant mentioned has started after, to a certain extent, the lockdown was eased. It wasn't so much when it was a full lockdown.
No.
So what you've got now is you've got a lockdown, you've got a combination with the Black Lives Matter, you've got also pent up frustrations and anti-establishment sectors coming into play. Also, all of the above, which Britain has always been known for its summer riots. I can't mention that I was an ex-police officer, but
were you?
But
Didn't know that, mate. I was called up, and first time since World War II, the special constabulary were called up was when I was called up for the Handsworth riots and the Brixton riots, the Toxteth riots, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So Britain has been renowned for its riots in the summer months. And I just think that this lockdown has created a tinderbox. So I think just watch this space is what I'm saying. Be careful. It's going to be interesting, I think, for the next week. Right, that is about it for the show today.
Sorry, guys. Before we wrap it up, quick one. Just because you guys are my lifeline to the outside world here. My attention to the news has been waning again recently.
Ooh.
When we first started all of this, we were actually in the UK. We were basing all of our sort of future knowledge based on what was going on in Spain, Italy, and France. To a certain extent, Germany. I haven't heard anything about what's going on in those countries at the moment. I get I get a good indication of what's going on in the States, Canada, South Africa. What's going on in Europe right now, guys? Do you know?
Well, Germany's got another flare up, haven't they?
Yeah, he's got a spot.
And Sweden has.
Yeah. And it's all coming about easing lockdown. We're going to have a spike in the UK. There's no doubt about it. Whether that turns into a wave, we don't know.
It's
Is Spain and Italy, are their pubs open, their restaurants open?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes.
Yeah. Because Italy opened quite early, but they're just outside areas of pubs.
And Spain's locked down some beaches already because of what happens Bournemouth. But the difference is that, you've got very heavily armed police forces in these countries, which we haven't got here. And they've got big numbers. For instance, France has got almost double the number of police officers that the UK has, for a population about the same. So
I was just trying to get some figures, but there's nothing much coming up on the news.
That's the big difference. So when Spain locks down a beach, it locks down the beach with heavily armed police officers and things like that. The chances of Bournemouth police being able to lock down that beach with those numbers of people probably would be non-existent. They just haven't got the numbers, But again, this brings on to my last point I've been saying to MPs from day one. We should have deployed the military from day one. And Tobias Elwood, MP for Bournemouth, in fact, who did attend Sandhurst Military Academy and has been trained in leadership as a British officer, said that we should have had a command and control and a situation room and brought the military in. And we've not brought the military in.
It's so sad.
In most other countries, by the way.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to say, it's so sad to see that people, and we were talking about this when I came on Monday, there's no common sense. I mean, just looking at Bournemouth, and Matt, the picture that you just shared, and Andy, you saying that we need, that picture.
Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's just, it's disgusting, isn't it?
Can I just ask, Matt, where's Wally?
Mate.
Where's Wally, mate?
Well, I think they're all Wallies, aren't they? They're all there. They're all in that one picture. It is common sense just goes out the window, isn't it? And it's just suddenly it's all gone let loose because yesterday they were saying that the holidays were being booked for flights outside UK and also holidays in the UK, which is great as well. There was a booking every 11 seconds yesterday.
Yeah, they were very busy.
Yeah, it was just insane. But that's good, I mean, especially holidays in this country. Let's do that. But I still can't see people going on holiday, in July and August.
You watch me do it, mate. You can watch me go.
I'm gonna go, but
I'm booked to go to France in the end of August as well. So I've just actually had because I'm going on the Channel Tunnel and coming back on the fast ferry. My concern was a fast ferry, but I've just actually had an email telling me what their measures will be, and it's basically on board the ship, face masks everywhere.
Yeah,
I just realised where you got that joke from. Did you get it from that? Where's Wally from the front of the Metro newspaper, Grant?
That was all my own work, mate. I haven't seen it.
Are you sure? Because there it is. Where's Wally? That's what it says.
Yeah.
Where isn't Wally on that one?
Oh, by the way, guys, some good news.
Oh.
The hairdresser called me yesterday, and I booked an appointment.
Yeah. The hairdresser called you?
Yeah. No.
You on the video, Maz, you've got to come in, Matt. You've got to come in, Maz.
Yeah. Keep the top of your head cut off on the screen because those roots are showing.
Matt, you're so rude.
You said about my hair earlier. That is really going. Mine's really going on this COVID cut. Right, that's it. It's time to wrap it up. Let's find out what we're doing at the weekend. Maz, what are you doing? No, Andy, you're going to wait a minute. Don't go yet.
Let us in the secret. What are you doing on the weekend? We need to know.
So, Andy, what are you doing at the weekend? We'll start off with you.
Well, I may go out, take Marion out for a drive in the car to some sort of historic place or beauty spot.
Brilliant. Excellent. That's what we want to hear. Maz, what are you doing?
I'm out with some friends. Well, no, hair's not going to get done yet. We're going on a picnic on Sunday. So I'm really... We're going to Malvern Hills.
Nice. That'd be good. There's a bit of rain tomorrow, just to let you know, a bit of rain. So be careful. Grant, what are you up to?
Nothing to report, mate. It's all a work weekend for me. I've got a lot to do this weekend. So.
Oh, Grant, by the way, did you paint that room that you were going to do last? Or was it the weekend before? Did you do it?
I did, yeah, I did, and I did an outstanding job. Took me the whole blooming weekend.
Well
So
done.
edges. It's the edges that are the problem, aren't they?
I ended up doing a lot.
So what am I doing? It's Siri's come on again. Siri always comes on at the end of the show. So what am I doing? Well, obviously, it's the house party tonight. There's only 2 left of the B93 house party tonight and next Friday, just before the pubs open. And then Saturday we have our B93 quiz night, which is the final quiz night we're doing. So that's all happening. Busy weekend. Right. Have a great one. We'll see everybody on Monday at midday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Great weekend.
See you guys.